Welcome to the February edition of Cardano360, your monthly catch-up with the people and projects building out this incredible Cardano ecosystem. Now, before we begin, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that bell for all the latest Cardano content and the latest news from the team here at IOG. Now, later in the show, we'll be checking in with Project Catalyst. We'll be taking a peek into the Metaverse and meeting a few more of the projects building on Cardano. We'll meet Eric and Damon from the Cardano DeFi Alliance, plus Coti is joining us for a quick update on Djed. But before all that, it's time for our regular development update. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us again this month. Now, of course, at the moment, the team's very busy preparing for the next major release. We did a bit of a deep dive on this in the mid-month update, but John, perhaps you can give us a reminder of exactly what is going into the next release.
There's a number of things coming up in the February release which are quite exciting. Some of them are quite techy, others are more end user features. When you're running a computer application, of course, there's lots of data floating around in the computer's memory. And how we represent that data or how it's structured inside the computer's memory can be done in different ways. What we've really tried to do is slim down how we represent data in the running node. And this has the ultimate result that for folks who are running dataless at home or running a node at home, they'll require less RAM to run the node because we've been able to really make more efficient optimizations on the structure of data in RAM. So this means that ultimately the node is less resource intensive and demands less of the end user's computer. So this is a good thing. So now that it can actually craft transactions in the CDDL format, the concise data definition language, this is something that's going to reduce friction for folks. So now you can actually quickly, from our CLI, using our standard native tools that ship with a node, you can craft transactions in this CDDL format rather than relying on third-party tools. So a bit of a techie one, but I think useful nonetheless. Now we've had multi-signatures already, this idea that you can have a number of entities sign a transaction. So rather than one person sign with their private key, you can have many people have to sign with their private key, analogous to a joint bank account. But we're rolling out a modification here so that we can effectively sign a transaction in incremental stages. So for example, you might sign the transaction first and then send it over to me, and then I'll be able to sign it, rather than having to sign it together. So we now have a new tool so that SPOs can check the leadership schedule. Now the leadership schedule is basically a list of who's going to produce blocks next. So this enables SPOs to review the next epoch and know ahead of time who's going to have that leadership spot come into block. Now, I understand some folks might be concerned about security here, but the way this has been executed, an SPO can only check on their own upcoming schedule and not on others. So this has no impact in terms of security. We've also added, and this is really a developer level feature, it lets developers inspect the local mempool where transactions sit before they've been put into a block. It's kind of like a waiting room for a block. This allows developers to kind of look at the mempool, follow the process of a transaction as it slowly gets towards being in a block. This is ultimately something that developers have been asking for a while, so we think it's going to really reduce friction for devs. And I think what's really cool here is that a lot of developers have said, well, when I'm writing smart contracts or writing validation scripts, I don't know exactly how much resources I'm using. And I've spoken about the resources before on Plutus, okay, memory limits, CPU limits, they're important. So you have to, when you're crafting your transactions for Plutus, you got to be aware of these things. And this CLI command or command line interface tool will allow developers to know exactly how much resources their script is expected to be used when it's executing on-chain. And then finally, we're going to be increasing Plutus resources and the number of transactions per block. So I want to recap with some hard numbers on this. Since the start of this year, we've made blocks 25% bigger. We've allowed Plutus scripts to use 24% more resources on a per block level and 40% more resources on a per transaction level. So these are real tangible changes. These are big chunky changes we've made to layer 1 since the start of this year.
Nigel, we've already talked about how we're grouping the releases this year around 3 points of the year. Now, this is more about predictability than anything else.
It is. As we've grown, we've got a lot of dependent companies within our network and infrastructure. So it's about enabling these different partners to have greater predictability about when we're going to do a major update and a major release. And it helps us to do the coordination about leading up to these different dates. It's about grouping these different features into one major release. Nevertheless, if something does miss those different segments, it doesn't mean that we can't release at other dates. And so throughout the year, we will be doing incremental updates across our whole technology stack. And I think it's important to note that in some of these features, they don't necessarily need a hard fork. So if we coordinate a major release around a hard fork, that enables our partners and other community members to actually manage their own development activities, but also we can give incremental updates that aren't a mandatory upgrade path throughout the rest of the year.
Now, Nigel, as John outlined, the focus of the February release is, of course, around the core platform capability with a number of Plutus enhancements as well. But of course, there's going to be a number of other drops throughout the year.
As we've talked a lot about the major releases and having those around fixed dates to create greater predictability. Outside of all of that, there's a huge volume of activity that's going on around delivery areas. And within each delivery area, there are some major deliveries, releases, and different features that are coming out. So I'll introduce now some of those delivery areas and give you a little bit of a flavour of what's coming up. So within our core technology delivery area, it's our major infrastructure delivery area. We've talked a lot about that. There'll be continual performance updates. We'll continue to update our parameters to greater network performance and efficiency. Outside of that, we have a major release coming up within the next few months, which is our UTXO HD project, where we are looking to basically change the way that actually we store the whole ledger state. So it'll be a mixture between RAM and a hard disk drive for different users. That's a huge advantage because it enables us to cope with a massive increase in network utilization and the growth of our UTXOs in our account structure. In addition, we still have the peer-to-peer work, which is about introducing a dynamic topology to our network to enable all our network nodes and peers to be able to efficiently connect to each other. And this is another part of the path towards full decentralization. That's been on the testnet since December, and we're looking to increase the testing on that throughout this year and releasing that onto the mainnet. Outside of that, there are smaller things that we are doing, but nevertheless, they are equally as important. We are continuing to look where we can get more bang for our buck within different performance optimizations. And we are working to actually optimize some of the libraries that we have that actually run our network. So that just gives you a full flavor of the infrastructure delivery area, the core technology. Sitting on top of that, we have an application layer delivery area, which is our smart contracts area, which is the key direction where our community is building. So inside of that area, we have a project about Plutus certification, which is basically our Cardano assurance program for us to be able to do some rudimentary checks on the different dApps that are hitting our network and give greater assurance to our user base, which is, I think, something very important for our users going forward and also helps our dApp partners too. Inside of that, we've set up a whole process around community support. So we are listening to our community and our dApp developers, engineering teams, and we're trying to provide tooling and use cases to those guys on a continual basis. We have a team that's working on those things and then delivering those support. On top of that, we've supported the setup of different organizations on the network, one of which is the Cardano DeFi Alliance. And we've set up a process that they themselves will actually develop tooling and different components and features that are really helpful for dApp engineers. And this comes from first-hand experience of building things themselves. What we've just agreed with them is we'll make sure that whenever we deliver anything, it is actually tested within a dApp and then it is used in a dApp when it hits the network. And that improves our quality as we move forwards. And I know those guys are coming on later on the show to talk in even greater detail. We've also got a lot of work going on in our Basho area, which is all about the next generation performance technology. Hydra, we've already had an update on that in the mid-month. It's our layer 2 technology. We've also got some work within a leading edge area with our project called Mithril, which is about syncing to the network faster. And in addition to that, we have a large program of work on sidechains. And that itself is also going to be a massive network improvement because it enables execution of contracts and application transactions outside of the main network. Moving forwards, you've already seen this year lots of updates across our wallets and services area. We're continually trying to improve our existing products, whether it's deadless, to introduce in more interface changes, as well as improving the sync connection times. They're looking to actually build forwards and actually develop a voting center and also an NFT center In addition to that, we've got the Cardano wallet, which is building on the multi-signature technology and features that we're just about to roll out, which John's just talked about. Outside of that, there's going to be some even more brand new features coming online. We have an exciting dApp store that's going to be introduced soon as a beta release to a smaller community at first, but that's going to be a cornerstone to parts of our application layer and smart contract offering as we move forwards. And then finally, we have a large amount of work within our governance area, which is where we're looking to continually improve decentralization and introduce community committees to make decisions across our whole network. Now, in addition to that, within that area as well, one of the core features is Catalyst, and Catalyst will continue to roll out different funds and support the growth and the investment within our network. So I think Tim, that just gives you a really good flavor of just such a vast amount of work that the whole community and team are working on at Cardano.
Well, thank you, Nigel. Yes, of course, a huge amount to deliver during the rest of this year. And of course, we'll be jumping into some of those areas in future shows. But let's go to June now. We obviously are going to cover this in greater detail in future months. But one of the areas that is kind of most important and getting the most excitement, John, is pipelining. Perhaps you can remind us what that is and why that matters.
We need to make sure that as we make things bigger, better, we also make things faster, because making things faster will allow us to make more of these changes as we progress throughout the year. That's where pipelining comes in. Pipelining is making things faster so that we can continue to aggressively scale out the size of blocks and aggressively give more resources to Plutus. So what is pipelining? Touched on it before. Technically, it's the coalescing of verification of blocks and propagation of blocks. But what does that mean? It simply means that nodes in the network no longer have to do a full verification of a block before they pass it to their neighbor. And instead, we have a mechanism where the nodes can safely transmit blocks to each other before full verification has taken place without jeopardizing the security of the network. All of this comes together to do one thing: give us more headroom to scale Cardano faster and better. Between now and June, we have plenty of headroom to continue to grow the scaling properties of Layer 1. Pipelining is really going to be a major milestone in terms of giving us huge headroom in scaling out further.
John, one of the technical improvements that we have discussed in the past was Plutus script compression, but I understand that's not needed anymore.
I browse Twitter, I browse Reddit, I browse YouTube, and I've seen folks ask questions about this, and I don't think it's been addressed recently. We were looking at script compression as a technique to squeeze more scripts into blocks. But this was before we had bigger blocks and more memory units available to scripts in general. So it's simply not needed anymore. If we did do script compression, it would be an extra step in the process. It would be something that we would have to change the structure of the chain for, because now scripts would be in certain eras uncompressed and in later eras compressed. So it's just not an optimal solution, and we've decided that we're going to move forward without it, because things like pipelining and input endorsers basically make it obsolete.
Thank you, John. So Kevin, alongside pipelining as network level improvement, there's going to be some improvements to Plutus as well, particularly around 3 CIPs that are particularly important to our developer community. Perhaps you can tell us more about those CIPs and why they matter.
Absolutely, Tim. So the Plutus team is on fire at the moment. They're really pushing through the improvements here. Great things happening that will really benefit the dApp developer community. Reducing the friction for developers, enabling more sophisticated dApps to be developed, but also, as John's hinted at, improving the capability of the chain to process these transactions. And all of this is happening in conjunction with discussions with community members via the open CIP process that allows us to talk to the community, to propose our ideas, to get feedback on those ideas, and then to put together the best possible solution that we can for whatever the technical advance happens to be. So you've mentioned 3 CIPs. The first of these, and possibly the most significant for many people, is that we will be making Plutus transactions smaller and cheaper. And what we'll be doing to enable that is the ultimate in compression, John. So we're not just reducing your scripts by 10%, we're not reducing them by 20%. No. We're going to reduce them down to a fixed size. What we're going to do is to store the scripts on chain so they can be reused. So a script will be a few bytes on chain, you'll be able to refer to it repeatedly. That means you won't have to pass that script in every transaction. That means the transaction sizes for Plutus scripts will go down from the current figure, which is about 14, 16 kilobytes. They'll be dramatically reduced. I don't want to say exactly where they're going to go to, but expect a major change there. And because the cost of a transaction is based on the size, because the script sizes will have reduced, that means that DApp users will be paying much less ADA to run their scripts. That's going to be a win-win-win, all-round win there. This is CIP 33. Then, in addition, we're also going to be improving concurrency. This is one of the concerns that people have had when developing DApps because of the UTXO model. And what we're going to be doing is to introduce something called reference inputs, CIP31. And what a reference input will do is to allow you to refer to a transaction input without spending it. So that allows many different transactions to refer to the same input. So each of them can use the same value, each of them can run concurrently, and that will help dramatically with removing one of the major sources of friction that people have felt so far. In addition to that, other things that are coming along will allow scripts to share our redeemers, so they'll be able to cooperate better using particular pieces of information. And we will also allow scripts to directly reference data. So at the moment, we're having to hash data values to pass into scripts. That's appropriate in some cases, particularly where the data is large, you can just refer to the hash. But if you've got something which is, for example, a simple integer, that's perhaps overkill, especially if you don't want to keep it secret. So by providing simple data and values directly to the scripts, CIP32, we will then cut the cost of accessing those data values and also make it easier for people to see what data is being provided to the scripts. So these are great improvements. Mentioned the CIP process several times, but we're also, of course, pulling a lot of content from a number of people who are actively collaborating with us via GitHub. And your input there, guys, very, very important, helps us to keep rolling out these improvements. And the input from the community members, input from the Cardano DeFi Alliance is really making Plutus much, much better. So lots of things happening, Tim. Great days ahead for Plutus.
So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Lots of exciting things happening over the next 9 to 12 months. And of course, we'll come back to you in future shows and we'll do a deep dive across all those topics and we'll introduce you to a few more of the team behind them. Project Catalyst is showing no signs of slowing down, with new funds providing millions of ADA to ever more projects. Innovation sparking ecosystem growth and the continuing road to decentralized governance on Cardano. Eric spoke with Project Catalyst's Chris Baird to get the latest.
So today we are joined by Chris Baird, the product manager for the Catalyst ecosystem. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Thanks very much, Eric. Great to be here.
So it's been a little while since we talked about Project Catalyst. What are some of the updates since last we chatted?
Well, we've just concluded the voting and announced results of Fund 7. And what a great turnout. We had over 1,000 proposals submitted in just Fund 7 alone. And that has produced 269 new projects, meaning that overnight we've almost doubled in the number of projects that Catalyst supported since the dawn of Catalyst time. What it means in some other practical terms is we've had a lot more wallets that have registered to vote. So now there's been over 52,500 wallets that registered to vote in Fund 7, which produced over 250,000 votes, which means that since Catalyst began a little more than a year ago, over 1.15 million votes have been cast to help decide which projects should be funded by the Cardano Treasury, which I think is just, mind-blowing when you think about where we've come in a year.
That is absolutely incredible. So obviously we have done the voting for Fund 7 and we're moving on with Fund 8. What are some of the things that are different about Fund 8? What can we look forward to?
Quite a lot to look forward to, that's for sure. As has been the convention since the first amounts of ADA were made available in Fund 2, we have doubled the fund amount in size every single funding round. So with Fund 7, we had $8 million worth of ADA available. In Fund 8, there's $16 million worth of ADA up for grabs. Now, this is going to be distributed into 22 challenges, and all of these challenges have been set by the community so far. And, if we double click and drill down a bit further, $2.2 million worth of ADA is going to be spent on 2 challenges to grow our developer ecosystem. There's 2 challenges that are focused on self-sovereign identity and accelerating decentralized identity. So that's a great win, I think, for the Atala Prism team. And we've already seen a lot of great outputs from their challenges in previous rounds. And there's both $1 million for Cardano scaling solutions, another challenge around the great migration from Ethereum, so supporting projects and dApps and whatnot that want to move over from Ethereum into the Cardano ecosystem. And then I'm really, really pleased to see that there's 2 new Grow Cardano challenges. So you might remember we've had Grow Cardano, Grow Africa. That's now been reinstated for Fund 8. It was voted for in Fund 7. But we're seeing new additions with Grow Cardano, Grow East Asia, and for the first time, Grow Cardano, Grow India. So I couldn't be more excited for that. Also, open standards and interoperability is becoming a bit of a theme. And there's a real new novel challenge, I believe, which is called Film and Media Creatives Unite. So I think the way that I see it is that there's just a lot of growth in all dimensions. And there's, hopefully going to be new communities, both internationally and, by sort of industry, that are going to be being exposed to Cardano and Project Catalyst.
Wow, this is incredible. So we've got not only some new challenges that are coming up, but new challenges that are sort of pushing into new territory at the same time. What are some of the new themes in projects that you're seeing coming out?
Yes, well, I think, another thing to point out is that there's a growing interest in this new initiative that we've launched called Catalyst Natives. And so just to touch on that, if you haven't come across Catalyst Natives so far, this is about taking all of this great energy and momentum and community that has been built through Project Catalyst and allowing other projects outside of our ecosystem to be able to allocate a treasury and set challenges that, the Project Catalyst community and our broader Cardano community can take a shot at. So, the idea is how can we enable more blockchain innovation that uses our community and leverages all of their expertise to help solve problems for other sorts of stakeholders. So yeah, we're having these sorts of conversations. There are going to be new Catalyst natives coming to the fold very, very soon. So that's one certain emerging trend that we're seeing. Also, this newfound interest in regional support. So doubling down on a particular international territory. In Fund 7, we've seen a number of Japanese-focused projects supported, including a really exciting Cardano Tokyo Summit project. So we should be growing these local communities even more so. We've seen 20 projects funded under the Cardano Grow Latin America challenge. So, again, there's all of this momentum and community that are building in these local international settings. I also think that there's, some new and emerging themes that are beginning to take shape for, spaces which maybe haven't necessarily had a lot of blockchain innovation take place in them. So what I'm actually talking about is in Fund 7, we've seen 3 education and edtech focused projects just in the Grow Latin America challenge. So, these are projects that aren't just about decentralized or digital identities. It's not just about credentialing, but it's creative applications like play to earn and learn models. So you can sort of see that the blockchain innovation space is now beginning to become a bit more pervasive into those more traditionally conservative or reluctant to adopt innovation type spaces.
Let's talk a little bit about taking it to the next level with these startups. I know that a lot of the Project Catalyst participants have been working with business incubators to help develop. Can you talk about how that's changed the outlook of some of these projects?
We can identify that we've had internal incubator programs that have been established over the course of the last few months. And now with Fund 7 and the Catalyst Accelerators and Mentors Challenge, for the first time, we've got the Cardano Treasury that is beginning to fund a whole load of new accelerator and mentor projects. We've also been working really closely with the Atala Prism team and the Plutus Pioneers team to provide pathways into the Pioneers programs. And, particularly for the Atala team, we've seen 22 projects that are funded in Decentralized Identity Challenge in Fund 7, many of which started their lives as participants in the Atala Prism Pioneers program. So we saw this sort of symbiotic relationship between the sort of incubator projects and then those teams that are now being successful in submitting proposals into Catalyst. Now, once they're in Catalyst and they're being funded by the Treasury, well, really, that's just the start of their journey. We've got the Catalyst Boost Camp, which is all about developing really strong entrepreneurial foundations. So it's helping those participants that are often baby startups, they're at the very start of their venture building journey, to understand the real principal components of what makes for a good business strategy. So thinking about the reason, their motivations for getting involved in the first place, setting up this business, what the problem is that they're responding to, who's their audience, trying to find product market fit, and then developing key objectives and results as a result of that. So the Boost Camp is, a starting point. It's like a first platform for some of the startups to be able to go through. We've also recently launched the IO Incubator, which is for Africa-focused projects that John O'Connor and I have been working on for the last few months. We've seen 9 ventures that are just beginning their first IO Incubator program. And then coming back to this idea of the Catalyst Challenge for Fund 7 centered around accelerators and mentors, we've got 12 new accelerator and mentor projects. And what this has really been set out to achieve is to develop like a co-creation process for these incubators and accelerators and mentors projects to work quite closely with us within the Catalyst team and then start delivering impact and supporting these startups that are coming through. What I think it really boils down to is it helps the startups and the businesses and the project leaders that are involved in all these projects and taking advantage of these opportunities. It offers them a better way of understanding what they need to do to become investable. And not just investable from a traditional VC sense, but also, in this new sort of crowdfunding sort of dynamic, you've got to be able to communicate your ideas clearly and coherently to win the hearts and minds of the people that are hopefully going to be investing into you in the future. Whether that, as I said, is traditional venture capitalists or investment funds or, even customers, right? The blockchain landscape is quite difficult for people to understand if it's quite new to them. And so, I think these accelerator programs are really there to help refine the ways that these startups communicate their value propositions.
Chris, thank you so much for joining us. This is a lot of incredible work that's been going on since last we talked with Project Catalyst. So how do people get involved?
Well, the first thing to do to get involved is come to a town hall. We have town halls every single Wednesday, 6 p.m. UTC. You can sign up via a Zoom link. So if you go to Telegram and you search for Project Catalyst announcements, you can join the Telegram group so you'll never miss an announcement around Project Catalyst. We also broadcast live to YouTube on Wednesdays. So I recommend anybody that's got an interest or a great idea to come and join Town Hall and collaborate and meet with all the other great people that are in the community that are showing up every single week and taking advantage of these opportunities. And then, the other final thing to say is you've just got to take those first steps, get involved, put in a proposal, or, become a community advisor, start reviewing some of the proposals that are being voted for on the ballot, or just take an active interest in those proposals as a voter. There are so many different ways to get involved with Catalyst, and it's a really, really inviting and welcoming community. So come join us.
And as always, all of those links will be listed in the metadata below. Chris, thanks so much for joining us.
We last heard from Shahaf Bar Geffen, Coti CEO, at the Cardano Summit, where he announced his company's stablecoin project for Cardano, Djed. Eric caught up with Shahaf to get an update.
At the Cardano Summit, Coti announced the creation of the Djed stablecoin. And today we are going to talk with Shahaf Bar Geffen, CEO of Coti Group, and find out a little bit more about the project. Welcome to the show, Shahaf.
Hey, Eric. Thank you for having me. Great to be here again.
So, Shahaf, many of our viewers are familiar with Coti, but maybe you can give us a quick intro.
So what is Coti? We've been around since 2017. Coti is a layer one for payments, but it's more than just layer one. We are a fully encompassing financial ecosystem consisted of wallets, payment gateways, even debit cards and bank accounts. And everything that we do and the rewards, the upside of our ecosystem is funneled to a treasury where our users can enjoy great rewards by participation. We've been in relationship with Cardano for a few years now, and I've been the first investment that C Fund, the Cardano Ecosystem Fund, has ever made.
So at the Cardano Summit, you announced the creation of the Djed stablecoin. Can you tell us a little bit about the stablecoin and maybe let us know where the project is right now?
And that last Cardano Summit, Josh actually invited me on stage, and we announced together the creation of Djed. And Djed is a stablecoin that is based on a very advanced algorithmic design. It uses smart contracts to ensure price stabilization. And the coin will hopefully be the biggest one in the Cardano ecosystem. So it will be very useful for decentralized finance operations and everything else that requires a stablecoin. It's more than just that. Down the line, there is a belief that fees should be paid with a stable currency, obviously, to give the users a way to predict what they'll pay. And we believe that down the line, all transactions fees should be paid with a stable coin, and Djed is a very good use case for that. In terms of where we at with Djed, the design is obviously ready. It has been an ongoing project for more than a year now. Where we're at right now. So we are finalizing the complete user experience, the front end, and then the integration to the back end. Front end is almost done, including implementation to Nami wallet and so on. And we're now starting to integrate to the Djed contract. So the design has already been implemented in various networks just to make sure that everything is working properly. And what we're focused on right now is actually security. We're introducing quite a lot of new security features to ensure that Djed is secure for the ecosystem and for everybody that is using it. What it means is that we'll be probably going to testnet next month in March, then do a third-party audit, and then go mainnet in a matter of 6 to 8 weeks past testnet, just to make sure that everything is working properly as it should be for what will become one of the biggest stablecoins out there.
So what specifically brought security to the focus for you for Djed right now?
Well, first of all, security has always been the top priority. Cryptocurrencies as a whole is a confidence-based market. People need to trust what they're using because there's no third party that mitigates it for everybody. As decentralized system work, you need to have trust in the system. So security is by all means top priority anyway, and especially when it comes to things that are financial instruments like stablecoins. With that in mind, there's been a few weeks ago, there's been a major hack in Wormhole, a bridge that connects Solana to Ethereum. And that brought up a lot of vulnerabilities, a set of things that we can do to make sure that we are more robust in terms of design. Specifically, the security measures that we've added is the introduction of configuration management contract that will facilitate the upgrades to the Djed contract without altering the Djed minting policy. This feature is essential to ensure that stable coins and reserve coins in circulation can still be redeemed after an upgrade. We are performing an extensive property-based testing to guarantee the preservation of Djed stability properties in the absence of security vulnerabilities. A level 2 audit certification of the on-chain code to ensure that the mitigation that is put in place are sufficient to cover all potential security flaws like double satisfaction problem and so on. And lastly, we are restricting the invocation of the pub endpoints responsible for deploying, upgrading, and the termination of Djed instances only to a list of known public key hash. I get that most will not understand all of it, but these are upgrades to the contract and the design and the architecture that just allows us to sleep better knowing that we've done everything that we could to ensure that Djed is secured and will not be hacked.
And once you've finished all of this, and once Djed is fully launched, where will you see it being used?
Djed will hit the ground running. We've been working relentlessly to build a lot of partnerships for Djed so that once launched, and again, March is testnet, and if all goes well through the security audit, then 6 to 8 weeks later, we are out there. And there's already a very warm acceptance for Djed. So the list of the non-exhaustive list of partnerships around for SundaySwap will have Djed in its DEX, AdaSwap, ErgoDex, DOEX, NeoSwap, Indigo, ADAX, World Mobile, Peribus, Tokhun. So that's just maybe a short list, a non-exhaustive list of all the partnerships in line. So when Djed is out, it's already fully encompassed in the ecosystem. And, I believe, and I think a lot of people understand that, Djed for Cardano DeFi will be what maybe USDC is for the Ethereum DeFi.
And I was wondering, could you tell me a little bit about Shen? What is Shen?
Well, first of all, Shen is the reserve coin that bundles with Djed. So that is the stable coin, and Shen is the reserve coin that is used for the pegging mechanism as algorithmic stable coin does. Just in terms of terminology, Djed, and that's the proper way to pronounce it, Djed comes from ancient Egyptian as a sign of stability. And Shen also comes from ancient Egyptian, and it's a sign of loosely translating of prosperity, because that's what reserve coins do. They fluctuate in value. And when people add liquidity to the Djed smart contract, and everybody can add liquidity to mint Djed stable coins, but you need to be whitelisted to mint reserve coins. This is what you get, and we're already in touch with a lot of liquidity providers in the ecosystem that will provide liquidity and have Djed and Shen with them.
Wow, so lots of things going on from Coti. Any parting thoughts for the community that's watching right now?
Please continue to follow up what we do. Please follow the channels. You can obviously follow, if you're watching this, you're already following Cardano. If you want to follow Coti, we're at Coti.io, and in Twitter, Telegram, Discord, whatever works for you, we're there, and we keep you informed with everything that we do, and we're all going to make it.
And as always, we'll have all of those things linked below. Thank you so much for joining us. Looking forward to seeing the full rollout of Djed.
Now, if you're enjoying this update and want to catch all our videos as soon as we push them live, please make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that alert bell. Go on. Thank you. The Metaverse. It's been one of the biggest stories over the past 6 months and seems to be getting bigger and bigger. So what is it? And what does it all mean for Cardano?
So let's talk about the Metaverse. At the moment, it seems like this is going to be a version of cyberspace where individuals can interact in virtual and augmented reality, basically entering the Matrix. But we're not quite there yet, are we? No, we are at the point where we are building the foundations. So the question is, why does IOG care? So we care about building cutting-edge technology for developing countries as well as emerging realities like the Metaverse. So today we are joined by Chief Technical Officer Romain Pellerin, who's going to talk to us a little bit about how Cardano is going to interact with the Metaverse. To begin with, Romain, welcome to the show. And what is the Metaverse?
The Metaverse is that glue between different universe. I think that's the best definition. So, for example, Cardano is one universe today, a universe where people are connected into a global community, and they are working towards particular objectives, and you have different applications between developed. Ethereum is another universe. Facebook is another universe. Google is another universe. So the Metaverse is the connection of those universes. And in order to connect universes, you need to actually have interoperability standards defined. So you need data, and this is what we call the NFTs. NFTs are represented in different ways on different universe, right? Then you have how you attach an identity to those NFTs, because you have an owner, right? And that owner is part of one or more communities. So you need to be able to have a decentralized identity that helps attach a user to an NFT, and that attachment being seen on different universes. And after, you have to be able to evolve NFTs in the same way. You need to attach ontologies. You need to particular NFT in order to understand in what context was developed that NFT, to attach it to another context, and maybe reuse some part of the previous context. You need to evolve NFTs in time also, between different versions of applications.
So can you tell us a little bit more about the user interface for the Metaverse? What will it look like? What is it going to feel like?
I think the visual representation of the Metaverse is an interesting question. We can't really expect what will be the visualization of the Metaverse. So people currently are using representation that are like the real world, right? So we are talking about lands, and we are talking about looking at NFTs through your space, your house, right? So the virtual reality, the headsets where you are immersed in your space are logical first steps, but I don't think it will be the final representation of the Metaverse. I think you'll have something that looks like more the cosmos, with connection with different universes.
So what you're really talking about is interoperability between your normal everyday life and the digital world?
It's definitely part of your digital life, your identity, your data, your habits, your social circles. All of this will define what is your place in the Metaverse.
Now, obviously, there's a lot of talk from centralized organizations and a lot of interest in building the Metaverse from companies like Google and Microsoft, as well as, of course, Meta. We're a decentralized technology company, so how do we make sure that the future of the Metaverse is decentralized?
So, by definition, if the Metaverse is a glue between everything and every apps, no one corporation can own the Metaverse, right? So Meta from Facebook will be a universe by the Metaverse, right? But if you represent the Metaverse as a collection of universes, right? Cardano is one. No one owns Cardano, so I think it has the great properties to be larger than one universe owned by one corporation. Why? Because it's owned by the community, and many different apps can be engineered or developed and shared on the blockchain. No one has the control of what will be actually developed on Cardano. So it's way more open. No one takes the decision, right? While I think big corporations will orient what will be or not deployed on their metaverse and how it will work. But I don't see that as a competition. It needs to be a collaboration with corporations because if you want to enforce the interoperability between universes, you have to work with other ecosystems to define what is this interoperability protocol around the NFTs. So the data, the ontologies, what's the place of the data in a context, right? In a particular application, how you can actually access metadata of an NFT, etc., etc.
So Cardano obviously wants to be a leader in creating this interoperable metaverse environment, but what does the Cardano blockchain actually offer to somebody who wants to build in the metaverse?
So Cardano offers three main components. So the NFTs through the native asset standard. So anyone today can actually create an NFT on Cardano. The second aspect is smart contracts, because you need to be able to evolve an NFT in time from your version 1 of NFT to the version 2 of your NFT. And you need to attach digital identities to the NFT. So we have Atala Prism, which is a decentralized identity solution that is required to attach a user to his NFTs, and that to translate in different in other ecosystems or other universe.
So Roma, are you personally excited to see the metaverse come online?
I know it's a digital transformation of our world. Like it's beyond blockchain. Blockchain is a tool where the NFTs and the communities are existing. The metaverse is a digital transformation where no corporation owns a silo, and applications are owned by their users. You know, when you are a gamer, you contribute to the quality of the game. For example, in multiplayer games, right? If you have good players, you have a good game, right? So they should have the reward of their participation in the game. Giving back to the users more, that's what the metaverse is about, and removing frontiers and connecting silos.
Thanks so much for joining us, Romain. So, in the metaverse, it is predicted that everybody will be able to do more or less the things that they do in their normal, everyday, base reality life. They can own digital artwork or even land. They can customize a digital avatar. And of course, all of this comes down to one thing, and that is NFTs. So today we are joined by Josh Miller, our commercial NFT business lead, to find out a little bit more how NFTs on Cardano meet with the metaverse. Josh, what do NFTs have to do with the metaverse?
The metaverse can be incorporated with many components of NFT. As we've seen out there with virtual real estate, so NFT can be the certificate of ownership. We've seen it with products, like you've seen with in the fashion industry, where you can have a layout, try on different clothes. There's even ones that are coming out that are attached to physical clothes. So think of the metaverse as your new e-commerce platform, where the NFTs are either the ownership, or it's the product to be owned, or it's the event that's going on, special access and privilege within a metaverse. I'd say that the metaverse is the hamburger and the NFTs are the ketchup.
So specifically, they bring things together and make them better?
Exactly.
All right. Okay, great. So for all the ketchup lovers out there, I suppose, that's NFTs and the metaverse. But speaking about Cardano, what does Cardano specifically offer to somebody who wants to build NFTs for the metaverse?
As far as what Cardano offers is along the same lines as every other blockchain, but it's a choice. When we talk about Cardano being eco-friendly, we talk about being carbon neutral, and we talk about the community that drives Cardano as one of the closest and largest that I've seen. At the end of the day, you have to target your audience, and they go with what they know. And the best way to get some of that market cap, to get some of that pie, is to go where the business is. So Cardano being a great part of that, having its own features, having its own access, having its own flavor, is what draws attention in, helps to be part of the conversation overall, and really brings Cardano into the metaverse, along with building the metaverse up and what it's capable of.
So obviously you're privy to a lot of the projects that are building on Cardano. What have you seen out there so far?
The big metaverse ones to keep an eye out on are the ones that are actually being backed by big names. That are coming onto Cardano, and not just to be Cardano exclusive, but like I mentioned earlier, to be part of the conversation, to be that multi-chain, to be that multi-component. but you're going to see some really interesting stuff coming up here in the next few weeks.
So we were just having a conversation with Romain about how the metaverse is a sort of glue that allows you to bring value from your digital life back to your base reality life. What are your thoughts on that?
He's absolutely right. We're going to see that more and more as these things evolve, because there's no reason why you couldn't take even the house you live in, apartment, or anything like that, and the things within your house. If you buy a couch, if you have a certain TV, even children's toys, and why you couldn't have a digital representation of this in the metaverse. And that can also lead to marketing campaigns or product targeting from these brands that are out there that's going to enhance the experience all around. So what you see in the metaverse, they'll get ideas to bring to the physical one, or you'll be able to interact with brands more, interact with people more, and really bridge the gap between digital and physical.
So we're beginning to see this picture emerge of the metaverse as a sort of interoperable layer between the real world and the digital world. Very cool. But who is actually building the foundations of the metaverse? Well, we tracked down a couple of the projects that are working on Cardano for the metaverse. And today we are joined by Lena Onto of Claynation. Welcome to the show, Lena. So what is Claynation?
So we started out as a series of 10,000 algorithmically assembled NFT characters, and we made them entirely from clay. We were one of the first, I think, handmade generative series on Cardano, and we really wanted our characters to have a lot of personality and imperfections, which kind of end up making them quite lovable. I think if you really have a look, you can kind of see fingerprints, you can see dust and fluff, like from our animators' hands really pressed into the clay, and we think that makes them pretty special and lovable. We released the Claynation series back in September, and we always had it in mind that we wanted to bring these characters to life. We didn't just want them to be stills, especially as we're a stop motion animation group beforehand. And so the first step that we're taking in terms of metaverse interaction is we're providing everyone that holds one of these AR and VR compatible avatar, and they're going to be ready to explore virtual worlds. So everything that we're doing at the moment, we're always building with interoperability considered, at each stage. And we hope that this will enable us to integrate with other projects building on Cardano, as well as hopefully projects on other blockchains.
So Claynation is a collection of characters that exist in the digital world that you can take into the real world. So basically a metaverse. But why build it on Cardano?
Building Claynation on Cardano was a really obvious choice for us. Firstly, and possibly most importantly, our Clay community is on Cardano, and their support is one of the key reasons that we're at this stage now. We started off quite small, a humble animation group, and we've ended up growing because of that community support, and that is so grassroots, and we feel that on Cardano. Prior to launching the project, I was running a stake pool on Cardano anyway, and was involved in the Cardano community. And the real reason, I guess, is I was drawn in initially because of the sustainability benefits of proof of stake, both financially, with the low fees, it makes it possible for us to do a lot more, and environmentally with the low energy intensity of Cardano. Another thing that's really exciting is that we feel NFT and metaverse projects on Cardano are kind of just at the infancy, and we've been at the forefront of the NFT scene sort of since that started really taking off on Cardano, and building as we go, but along the ride with it, and the rapid growth of it, and just means that there's a huge scope for creativity and innovation, and we want to be a part of that.
So you mentioned we're kind of at our infancy right now of projects that are building in the metaverse and projects that are building on Cardano. Where do you see us going in the future?
It's a huge question. So I think in the same way that you can't step in the same river twice, I see the metaverse experience as something that is constantly evolving, and every single experience in the metaverse will be unique. Regarding Claynation, we hope that people will be able to experience at first, culture, music, arts, education, and all of this will be within this experience. And I think something that's really exciting is how immersive these experiences can be. It will open so many doors to imagination and really real connections. So there are loads of hurdles and many unknowns when it comes to metaverse development, but there are also limitless capabilities. And I hope that in good time, this will provide next level opportunities to people all around the world.
Fantastic. So how do people get involved in Claynation?
A great first step is to jump into our Discord. You'll find the community is super welcoming there, and our team are actually very active there as well. So we're always happy to help. We have Twitter Spaces every other Monday, where we answer questions from the community. And we also have our website, which is a kind of entrance point, which has a lot of information on where you might want to collect one, the different types that we have, the different rarities. Everything like that can be found there.
Thanks so much for joining us, Lena. So now we are joined by Josh Jones of Cornucopias, a new game that is building on Cardano for the Metaverse. Josh, welcome to the show. Tell us, what is Cornucopias?
Cornucopias is a Metaverse and NFT-based blockchain game that has a variety of themed zones that people can explore that has different attractions in each zone. We're going to be using NFTs for the economy throughout, so people will be able to own their own assets. And then there's also going to be the metaverse element in there where we bring in all sorts of different value from community and from different entrepreneurs and businesses around the world.
So in terms of building this as a metaverse game, what makes it different than building a traditional style of game?
Really, the best way to answer that would be to say that we have to involve community. We have to allow it to be a platform, and then it has to be interoperable eventually so that we can connect to other metaverses or other metaverse-based projects, because there needs to be a connection of this open world, right, eventually. So I think it is an evolving vision for the metaverse, but our solution is going to be to bring in community and add value and create incentives for the community to participate, community entrepreneurs and businesses to participate in building this. And to really carry out the scope, we have to gradually decentralize so that we've got this self-evolving and self-growing world.
So we talked with one of our folks that's working on NFTs about how one of the benefits of building on Cardano is that you get the community along with it. What's Cardano bringing to Cornucopias?
So we love Cardano for a variety of reasons, but it's really bringing some key elements in its solution that we need. So for example, thinking about scaling. In the future, when the tidal wave of people come to the blockchain and come into crypto, I think a lot of the other chains are going to break because they haven't really been designed with the fundamentals in mind. And so there's been these quick fix type solutions. Well, with Hydra and with scaling, Cardano is going to be able to handle that volume. And with gaming volume, we have a tremendous need for, there could be millions of game saves per day, billions of game saves per day eventually. So there's a huge need for scalability there, and Cardano will have that. Additionally, the Catalyst project, Voltaire and governance, we're going to need that as well, because as I mentioned before, we need to have this ability for the community and decentralization to grow the project for us. So it's got to be a project that grows on its own and that businesses can be built on top of that and that the community can steer it and help it to evolve. So there's that as well. And lastly, Atala Prism. That's an enormous feature that is going to be needed more and more as a result of blockchain achieving mass adoption and government regulations around the world. We're going to have needs for Atala Prism, a variety of needs. And so that identity-based solution is something we're actually hoping to connect with the Atala Prism team soon. So there's a lot. I mean, there's so many. And, lastly, I'll sum that up with, we're attracted to the vision and mission of Cardano, bringing an economic identity to the billions of people around the world that lack it. I mean, that's a selfless kind of mission that I'm really attracted to, and I love the ethos. The blockchain ethos is kept in mind with Cardano's vision and mission. So there's so many issues with monetary policy around the world, and Cardano, I think, has that in mind.
So it seems that your focus is on identity, scalability, and governance. Is that about right?
Yeah, those three features of Cardano are tremendously, they're going to be invaluable for us.
All right, so what does Cornucopias look like in 3 years?
Cornucopias in 3 years. Well, I'm hoping that we've got a variety of solidified partnerships that bring in the music and the arts into our platform and bring these creative forces in. I'm hoping that we have a variety of different projects building on top of our city and connecting to these individual bubbles where these custom domes that we're allowing people to build. So unique use cases, for example, maybe Tesla's building out a a training center and the ability to showcase their vehicles in virtual reality within their own space that they have. And then there's a connection within the city that allows them to achieve that and drive traffic to their space. Maybe there's a variety of different communities participating in gaming guilds, and for example, we've got a partnership with Tingo, which you guys are well familiar with, Tingo Mobile, and they have 10 million subscribers. And so what we get to do there is we get to bring our learn to earn features to 10 million subscribers in Nigeria. So we're very connected here at Cornucopias with the mission of really bringing value in Africa and what's going on there. We love that. I'd really like to see a lot of these early partnerships that we're forming that add tons of value panning out in a platform kind of way that enables so many others to create on top of our platform. We also have a partnership with European Business University where learn to earn aspects, people can get scholarships by playing our game. And so there's a lot of things that we really want to see happening, and it needs to be in 3 years happening on its own without our control and direction.
So how do people get involved with Cornucopias?
Yeah, they can just go to cornucopias.io, our website, or you can follow us on Twitter at Cornucopias Game, or go to our Discord. So any of those are going to point you in the right direction. We got a strong community, a really positive one, and we're creating an awesome, fun, creative, engaging community, and we'd love to have you involved.
So, Clay Nation and Cornucopias are only two of the projects that are building on Cardano for the Metaverse. Now, there are obviously a lot of other projects that we couldn't feature here, but you should absolutely check them out, and we've listed them in the metadata below. The creation of the Metaverse will likely mirror the development of the internet, and that means that independent creators and entrepreneurs will be responsible for filling the space with new businesses and new experiences. Cardano wants to be the platform that's open to everybody that they can build on. As we said, this is just early days for the creation of the Metaverse. So, to find out more about projects that are building on Cardano for the Metaverse, make sure to stay tuned to all of our official channels.
Every month we introduce you to some of the innovators building on Cardano, so you can check them out. Let's head over to Matt now, who's been talking to a handful more.
This week, I continued my mission of talking to projects building on Cardano so that you, the community, can find out what's going on in every corner of the ecosystem. This week, we had on Project Newm, Trading Tent, Tokhun, and ccvaultio. Let's jump in. What is your mission, and how is that different from other projects or pre-existing solutions in the market?
Our goal at ccvaultio is to become the go-to Cardano wallet for newcomers and power users alike. From the beginning, we've asked our users for their suggestions on new features on GitHub and now on Discord. And that's how we've been able to implement many of the current features of ccvaultio, for instance, detailed CNFT support.
Yeah, well, Matthew, thank you, first of all, for having us on. It's an honor to come on and talk to the community. So we're building an all-encompassing ecosystem for musicians to live from conception to essentially retirement. And that makes us extremely different from any other solution that's being built currently or anything from the traditional system that exists today.
The name of our project is Tokhun, Tokhun.io. We are a smart contract-driven NFT marketplace. Our mission is to offer users an intuitive, user-friendly platform with features such as comprehensive minting, auction systems, bundled sales, policy management and verification services, royalties, secure token wallet, and a premium partner artist program.
Tent is an automatic native Cardano asset trading system. It allows two users to connect and trade directly between them. I think the most common case right now we've seen is obviously NFTs, since it allows you to trade easily and fast instead of going through a smart contract marketplace and locking your assets and waiting for someone to buy it.
What are the advantages of building on Cardano? Why are you and your team in the Cardano ecosystem as opposed to any other?
We entered the Cardano space in 2018 when there was only a vision of a blockchain like Bitcoin, but with proof of stake consensus and on-chain governance built from the ground up to last for decades. Our team believes that Cardano as a technology offers the best long-term solutions in the space. We also like the fact that for every new challenge that comes up, there is always a research paper that addresses the issue, and likely an implementation of that paper already on the way.
So the reason we chose Cardano to build on is a couple of reasons. The first biggest one is that if we're going to be entrusting millions of dollars worth of IP rights on a network, we need to go with something that we know is going to be around and have staying power. Another big thing is that we need fee predictability. You cannot run a business if you don't know what your expenses are going to be.
The reason we chose Cardano is a bedrock level 1 blockchain. It has the advantages of being peer-reviewed scientific method, making sure that everything is very stable, solid, well-defined. It's not going to have problems. You're not going to have to turn it off, turn it on again. And so that's what we need to build our music ecosystem. And also the other projects that are building on Cardano. So we don't plan to build everything ourselves. We're going to be, finding partners and others to help us with certain aspects of that. And so, we'll be looking for service providers that do things like file storage on the blockchain or trading of fungible tokens. We'll be building some of those pieces ourselves, but also it's a great ecosystem in general for collaboration.
First, the blockchain is developed based on a scientific approach, very mutable and very scalable. When it comes to native asset, the fact that it goes through proof of stake that involve low energy and low fees was also very interesting for us. And we are really interested in the UTXO model too, which is very unique in the way it's built up. And the engagement from the Cardano community has been like a huge facilitator to improve our development processes.
The first biggest advantage on building on Cardano is the extended UTXO model, which is literally what allows your project to exist. So this model allows us to trade multiple assets in a single transaction. We've done internal testing and we sent it was 30, 50 NFTs in the single transactions. We also love the Cardano, the methodology between Cardano of measure twice, cut once. So we love the philosophy behind Cardano, and that's why we're in the space. We wanted to be early, and we want to help the ecosystem by building the tools for collectors to trade and to collect as easy as they can, leveraging all the benefits of Cardano.
So how's it going? What stage are you guys at now in your development?
Our app is currently packed with features, all crammed into one not so pretty UI. We are currently working on a modular version 2 of ccvaultio, which will be much more static and allow users to activate the parts of the wallet that they need and deactivate the parts that they don't need. This new system will also enable the integration of third-party projects. We are also working on Staking Vault, a feature that will not only earn users more ADA on their delegation, but also provide a much-needed revenue stream to fund future ccvaultio development. It will also allow us to submit our code for a security audit, which has been requested a lot by our community. And because security audits cost money, our main objective at this point is to secure a revenue stream.
Right now, we are in the process of fundraising and development. So we've already started development. We are working towards our minimum viable product, which includes fractionalization of IP rights on Cardano. So we take a music NFT, fractionalize it, and fractionalize ownership of that. As far as auditing work and security work, we have advisors on board. We are also in the process of putting together mobile apps. So we will have eventually a streaming experience for the MVP.
We started with minting nodes first, and we quickly would start working on our marketplace, but it was a very basic version early on. So we implemented smart contract functionality thanks to Quinn, and it was still a very basic version of the smart contract. So we're right now working towards upgrade to that smart contract. And we would like to prove that it's probably secure and is safe to use. So we're thinking of two routes at the moment, whether it's to open source it or put it up for auditing. I think we're about to close about 5 million ADA being sold on our marketplace, which is huge, and nearly 10,000 sales, completed. And there's a lot of auctions still taking place in our marketplace, and we're very proud of that. What we're looking forward to next is a site revamp and wallet integration with the smart contract of the new version of our smart contract.
Currently, we're already on mainnet. We are in open beta right now. Like, anyone can access Tent, anyone can create a Tent, anyone can trade a Tent. We're still in beta because it's just like the first version, and we still have a lot of plans for the future. And we are looking maybe into the future as the project grows more to get audited and to allow like other people to look into the inner workings. But for the moment, we just did our internal testing, and we try to be super clear and super transparent. And the way the wallets work, they show all the transaction outputs just before you're gonna sign it. We're also like working right now with other projects in the space to help us grow and to help them grow. So for example, we're working right now with integrating ourselves with a lot of Discord servers. The most popular bots like CNFT bot and OneBot are working with us to allow every server they are in to just open a tent by doing a Discord command.
A successful launch and staying power are two different things. Post-launch, what are some of the crucial milestones on the path to becoming an established part of this ecosystem?
Once we've secured the funding, that's the next major milestone, we will be able to grow the team significantly. That will allow us to not only refine the user experience, but also venture into new areas and partnerships with other Cardano projects. Interesting for wallet projects like ours would be the integration of Atala Prism service providers, DEXs and marketplaces. And we will also explore Hydra nodes for low-cost inter-wallet transactions.
One thing that we really have to keep in mind when you talk about launch and staying power is that, as has been mentioned before, we're really focusing very much on our community, and that has been shown with the airdrop that we did to our community members that were loyal from the beginning.
So I can tell you, in reference to milestones for what Newm is going to be looking like as we go into the future, I want to put a caveat, and I want to say that our governing ethos is we under-promise and over-deliver. Everyone on our team is in the same mindset. So with that being said, like Andrew mentioned, for our minimum viable product, having that fractionalizing of IP rights, that's the first step. And the reason we chose to do this and to go this approach is because if musicians are our focus, then that is something that can immediately generate income for a musician. So that's the reason we went with that first. Second, the marketplace to actually trade the IP rights, right? So that's the next step. After we have that in place, then we're going to be ready to start collecting royalties and the distribution of the payouts of royalties, right? And so with that, then we have the streaming platform that's going to go live with also the option to do ticket sales for the artists through the app. And then finally, we're going to get to the point to where we can fully decentralize the protocol and have the DAO creation to where we can hand off the keys to the community and let them steer the ship on where they want the future of this music ecosystem to go.
Tokhun has a roadmap planned for 2022. Q1, we have planned a complete site revamp. Q2, we're focusing on our token implementation to the site along with the rewards mechanisms. Q3, we're gearing up to approach the commercial sector for implementation of NFTs such as retail, ticketing, and luxury goods. And we're going to close out Q4 with a cross-chain integration planning, working on the ability to buy and sell NFTs from one blockchain to another.
For the moment, one of the crucial things we want to do is still do much more like marketing-wise to help ourselves grow and be like more known between the projects. And the other thing we're working on is with integrations. For us, integrations is a key part of the ecosystem and allowing ourselves to work with other projects. We know we like standalone, we have a great product, but as we get ourselves integrated with other projects, for example, we have a partner program. So every project can have their custom link where like just about to launch that, but that partner program is super important for us because it allows projects to give their community another benefit. And this integration with Discord bots is another way for us to launch. And obviously there's like extra functionality we want to add to the product, like the ability to chat while you're trading, the ability to have an easier communication with the people.
How do you see your project's niche developing on Cardano over the next few years and into the longer term? And what industry problems do you feel that your project is uniquely able to address?
Well, as more and more projects are launched on Cardano that appeal not only to tech-savvy people, but also to the masses, it is important that the average user can interact with blockchain services in a natural way. Think about online banking systems. They all have their pitfalls, but people have learned to use them. In future versions of ccvaultio, we want to make it easy to get started and also easy to use our wallet on a daily basis.
So with the current music system in place, you're going to find that it's much like the banking industry, where there are tons of middlemen and they're gatekeepers. And so basically, to keep things very simple, what we're essentially doing is we are going to be replacing the middlemen with a protocol that's not incentivized to make a profit. It's just incentivized to have just enough income to where it can function and pay for its infrastructure and run. And so when you do that, you all of a sudden essentially create more revenue for the artists and the creatives. And so it doesn't have to get sucked up by maybe a PRO in the middle that takes half the profits, or it doesn't have to go to a label who owns all of your IP rights, typically if you're a very small artist. So how can you do that? You can choose to sell part of your IP rights to the community. This is great because now you have not just consumers of your music, but you have people who are invested in you and your success. This creates a positive feedback loop. So this is going to build upon itself. I can tell you right now, what we are going to do for Cardano, I think we are uniquely positioned to help with actual mass adoption as an ecosystem that is not focused on crypto, but focused on mainstream and people who aren't in crypto, for us to bring those people into this ecosystem really without them knowing it. If we've done our job right, they won't know that they're really working with a blockchain, or it shouldn't feel techy. It should feel organic.
So when we imagine and build Tokhun, the metadata structure and even the name Tokhun, in our vision NFT, we're not just JPEG art on the blockchain. What we've been foreseeing is a much wider use cases for NFTs in the future. So we are positioning ourselves to evolve within the space needs in the future.
Yeah, like wider use cases like being able to buy a ticket or buy a car and actually sell the ownership of the car as an NFT is one thing. And we could work with commercial partners like, let's say Gucci wants to build a handbag with an NFT inside it. That's a proof of purchase and saying that this is authentic. There are so many wide use cases that people are yet to dream of. Digital art and NFT collectibles is just one thing. We're going to show the world that there's more to it.
Directly, I would think is the peer-to-peer trading, right? As I talked about a little bit earlier, like for the most part, the most traded assets are obviously NFTs. I think that niche, like the NFT ecosystem, is just going to grow over time. Like it's still super early in Cardano, but we can see, and I mean, no one can ignore the relevance that the NFTs are gaining. So as the ecosystem grows, there will always be the need for personal direct transactions. Like not every transaction requires a smart contract marketplace where the asset is locked, where you cannot like guarantee that the seller you want will take it. Like there's always going to be the need for human interactions, and that's what we want to enable and empower this direct between users transactions. The space grows, we will always be focused on peer-to-peer, and that's like our niche and how we see it.
I want to thank all the projects that came on the show today for sharing their ideas, their vision, and their mission with the wider ecosystem. Until next time.
Now remember, none of these interviews constitute financial advice, nor should be seen as a direct endorsement from IOG. Always do your own research. So as DeFi grows on Cardano, developers are coming together to continue to evolve and build out the developer ecosystem, from tools and APIs to core Plutus improvements and enhancements. The Cardano DeFi Alliance is a new consortium looking to help standardize Plutus and Cardano development best practice within the DeFi community. I sat down with Eric and Damon from the project to hear more about the mission and to hear how the Plutus developer community is rallying behind that shared purpose. So, Eric, Damon, regular viewers might recognise you from your work with Charlie3 and with the Indigo protocol, but today you're here to talk about the Cardano DeFi Alliance. Eric, perhaps you can tell me a little bit about the history of that and how it all came about.
Really, the CDA came about from individual work that a lot of the DeFi protocols were encountering as we were building on Cardano, a motion to create an alliance to achieve more, greater in numbers, right? So started to ideate the concept of putting bright minds, brilliant engineers together in the same room and overcoming development hurdles and tasks with more people achieving that same mission rather than just individual teams.
So you're slowly and steadily building out your membership, the brightest minds in the room, as you say. But Damon, how is this going to filter through into real ecosystem value?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great question, part of our core ethos. I mean, why get everyone together to create if there's no real reason for it, right? So it's an intensely innovative area, Cardano in general. So getting the ecosystem up running faster will benefit everybody that's trying to build for Cardano, will benefit the community as well. So getting all of these projects together to work in tandem to make that ecosystem boost faster benefits everybody. But more specifically, we want to benefit the growth on a development side as well. Plutus scripts and libraries to help other projects deal with their journeys along the way for having proper documentation, I think is huge. And that's a really big goal of ours. And then also education everywhere from the general consumer all the way up to the high core developers and even into marketing business development areas. Like, how can you build your project faster and get to the level where we are without having to go through the same hurdles? So it's kind of like making a success book to a point and making sure that everybody understands what they're investing in, how to manage that, and just navigate the ecosystem a little bit better.
Now, Eric, you're working quite closely with a number of the team here at IOG. Tell us a bit about how that's going.
Yeah, it's been great so far. I think to get closer with the inner workings of IOG, just for myself, has been good to understand kind of how things go, the nature of conducting business from a collaborative approach perspective. So yeah, I think it's been really positive, really beneficial. And just really to Damon's point, the ethos of the CDA is to empower and enhance the education of Plutus. So being more involved with the IOG representatives has been really helpful in that so that we can achieve that mission.
And Eric, of course, this is a growing membership organization. How are you looking to expand upon your member base?
So yes, the CDA is an open enrollment alliance. We have our application process through the website, so it's easily accessible to anybody who is interested in the CDA. Perhaps you can provide the web address here. Yeah, so just easy application process, and our member relations team will align an interview with each applicant post receiving that application. And then the application is then reviewed internally, and all the notes from the meeting that the member relations team convey to the group will have an internal vote so as to approve the new member applicants' enrollment in the CDA. So a very easy process. We do need to make sure that the criteria is met for each individual applicant, that they are in line with where we want to see a new member being with regards to their development process, and obviously being in line with being a DeFi protocol as well.
Damon, you're leading on the marketing efforts for the CDA. Tell us, how can the community get involved?
I think just making sure you guys keep up to date with our regular developments. We work together to manage our meetings and what's coming up next, our new member positions. Like right now, there's only a few. Eric and Ben from M Labs and myself and Coti have legitimate positions that we are specified with, but I think it brings a lot of trust to the community to see that we have specified roles and that we're working on things. So just keep up to date to see our new membership and other things in our blog posts, and obviously through the website, which Eric just said will be in the description below.
So gentlemen, thanks very much for joining. Before you go, maybe I'll give you a quick opportunity to update us on your projects. Damon, how's it going with Charlie3?
Yeah, Charlie3 is going really good. We just had a Catalyst Fund 7 win, so thank you to the community there. And that's to provide free price feeds for startups in the Cardano ecosystem, so you don't have to worry about the price of Oracle feeds. So that's really nice. And past that, we've got a working aggregation model for our oracles, so we can be ready to provide the data that we need to projects that need it pretty pretty soon, and working on scalability options from our side, expanding the team as much as possible, and looking at new investment ventures to keep us running through to the future. So really excited about our progress so far. The engineers are doing a fantastic job, and just looking forward to the birth of a few new projects on mainnet.
And Eric, what's the latest on Indigo Protocol?
Full steam ahead, Tim. We have recently added on 3 new core team members in our product research and product innovation teams. So that's very exciting for us, growth. We've also, as well, recently gotten approved for our Fund 7 Catalyst proposal. Thank you to the community, not only for approving Charlie's, because we'll also be using their Oracle platform, but as well for ours. We're building out a multi-DEX SDK and collaborating with MinSwap on that as well. So very exciting. Thank you to the community again for approval and really a vote of confidence with Indigo. Our contracts, smart contracts, have been passed security audit. We'll probably go in for a secondary audit as we get closer to mainnet, but yeah, like I said, full steam ahead and a lot of productivity.
Eric, Damon from the Cardano DeFi Alliance, thanks very much. So that's a wrap for February. If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like, subscribe and bell, and be sure to check out the links below. Also, you can head over to the IOG blog for the very latest on the Cardano Stack Exchange, a new resource for the Cardano developer community, the latest on the Hydra family of protocols, plus pipelining and more. Be sure to join us for the March mid-month development update and set a reminder for our full March show happening on the 31st, where we'll bring you the latest development news plus all your ecosystem updates. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you in March.